Hi there, now we're going to do lesson 90. For this review, we will use these ideas. Paragraph 1, lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let me realize today that the problem is always some form of grievance that I would cherish, some righteousness that I'm holding on to. That's always the problem, because if I didn't have a righteousness, then I wouldn't have an issue in here. Let me also understand that the solution is always a miracle with which I let the grievance be replaced. The solution is always a miracle. What is a miracle? It's a shift in perception. So if I shift my perception from fear to love, then the grievance will be replaced. So if I hold a grievance, is my righteousness. If I choose to be happy instead of right, if I choose love over fear, automatically that miracle is going to release my grievance, is going to allow me to free myself from it. But I have to choose to shift. Today, I would remember the simplicity of salvation by reinforcing the lesson that there is one problem and one solution. Today, I would remember the simplicity of salvation. I am the one that needs to let this work be simple. Simple. God already made us free. Let me now receive that freedom by not binding myself to the world that I've projected out there. The problem is a grievance, a judgment, a statement that there's something other than me. The solution is a miracle. A miracle is I'm going to love it all because you're not other than I am. Love created us as one. We're all inside the mind of God. So there is no problem when I remember our oneness. But the problem is that I'm judging something other than me, which makes us two instead of one. And invite the solution to come to me through my forgiveness of the grievance and my welcome of the miracle that takes its place. So let me read those two together so it makes more sense. The problem is a grievance. The solution is a miracle. And I invite the solution to come to me through my forgiveness of the grievance and my welcome of the miracle that takes its place. I have to forgive myself for creating the grievance. I forgive myself for, in a moment of insanity, willing against God, thinking against God, blocking God's truth. And instead of doing that, I'm going to create the miracle of shifting my perception from my will be done to God's will be done, from my dark way of looking at things, which is limited, to God's light way of looking at things, which is unlimited. So I rather see it with God and see the whole picture than see it by myself and see a tiny little fraction and call that the reason why I cast myself into hell. Isn't this powerful? So now, paragraph 2, specific applications of this idea might be in these forms. So 3 affirmations for us to begin to work through this stuff. This presents a problem to me which I would have resolved. So there's an accident. This is presenting me a problem that I wish to have resolved. God, what would you have me do? God, what is your will for me? How do I show up as a presence of love in this accident that just took place? So that instead of seeing a problem, I can see a solution. Instead of this accident being something that ruins my day, maybe I just got to meet the person who's going to become the best friend. Maybe I just got to meet somebody who's going to put me in touch with the best job I could ever find. But I have to be willing to look for the good in every situation. I have to be willing to realize that all events, all situations, all encounters are always helpful. But I have to receive that help. I have to receive the good by not blocking it with a judgment. The next one, the next bridge affirmation is, the miracle behind this grievance will resolve it for me. Automatically, I let go of my righteousness. Love is going to come flooding in and it will resolve the issue. And the third one is, the answer to this problem is the miracle that it conceals. So I'm focusing on a problem. What is the miracle behind that problem? I need to be right. What is the miracle behind that problem? I don't need to defend myself. Okay, so the miracle is don't defend yourself. I need to be right about how somebody wronged me. Have I ever wronged somebody? Yeah. Oh, okay. And then didn't affect me when somebody wronged me. So why do I need to wrong them? So there's a miracle already there if you begin to question why it is that you need to be right about your situation, your grievance. Now let's go to paragraph 3, which is a review of lesson 80. Let me recognize my problems have been solved. Let me recognize my problems have been solved. Well, God has solved all problems because God doesn't see them. And they're solved because we're in the mind of God, safely held inside of God, that nothing that we do here can affect the eternalness of the energy that we are. Isn't that wonderful to know? It's so liberating for me. I seem to have problems only because I am misusing time. I seem to have problems only because I am misusing time. I believe that the problem comes first and time must elapse before it can be worked out. So every time I see a problem, I think there's going to be some time before we can solve it. I do not see the problem and the answer as simultaneously in occurrence. In the world of the ego, we have past and present and future. So something happened to me in the past, and it's going to be a while before it can be resolved. Just as we go, there's an accident or something happens, and then we go to court, and then we got to wait a year for the judge to make a ruling. So we have been conditioned to believe that we have to wait for things to get resolved. There's an accident, we got to wait on the police to decide who's right or wrong. We take a test, and then we got to wait to see if we pass it or we don't. So the ego has set up all kinds of systems out in the world to show us that we have to wait, making it when this happens, then there's time before we can get a resolution. And the Course is saying no. The minute that there is a problem, the solution is given right instantaneously, because everything happens in tandem now, because there's only now in Source. There's no time in Source. There are no clocks. God did not invent clocks. So anyways, paragraph or sentence number 5 says, that is because, let me read 4 again. I do not see the problem and the answer as simultaneous in their occurrence. That is because I do not yet realize that God has placed the answer together with the problem so that they cannot be separated by time. This is a key statement. If we offered a miracle in the moment the situation happened, there would be no problem. So the answer is always that we could have offered a miracle instead. We could have been loving instead of fearful. We could have seen the truth instead of our perception. We could have allowed God to guide us instead of us blocking it and then having to go to the Holy Spirit later on. So the minute that we block God's will, which was the answer, we created a problem. The solution is me not blocking God's will. So keep that in mind. Everything that appears to be a problem is because we did not see it with God to begin with. The Holy Spirit will teach me this if I will let Him. You will begin to see patterns over and over and over again when you begin to forgive yourself for just not having let God have its way with us to begin with. Every act of forgiveness is because I block God, period. If I don't block God, there's my solution. My answer is right there where the problem is. Because the minute that I choose with the ego, I create a problem. If I don't choose with the ego, I have my solution. Do you see how cool this is? All right, so sentence 7. And I will understand. Let me read 6 again. So the Holy Spirit will teach me this if I will let Him. And I will understand it is impossible that I could have a problem which has not been solved already. Isn't that beautiful? So paragraph 4, these forms of the idea will be useful for specific applications. So these are our bridge affirmations. I need not wait for this to be resolved. Quick statement, I don't need to wait for this to be resolved. Number 3, the answer to this problem is already given me if I will accept it. How cool is that? Just accept that the solution has already been given. The third one is time cannot separate this problem from its solution. Why? Because the problem is only my choice to not do it with God. If I did it with God, there would be no problem. Oh, I love the simplicity of these lessons. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. And I look forward to doing the next lesson together. Thanks a bunch. And remember, we really, truly are magnificent. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.